Hi everyone. Little update on our heat pump. We had a little issue um, last week or the week before with this thing here. It wouldn't turn on. And I know that in the springtime I was in this room and I turned it on and I switched them all to AC. That way you don't have any errors. So anyways, my brother-in-law and my sister were coming down from Ohio and they were going to stay with us for the weekend. So a day or two before, my wife, we cleaned up the room a bit and everything, and we turned on the AC and it didn't work. It wouldn't even light up. You could push the button and she'd be just like that. So, anyways, that was a problem. So what we did is I checked the connections in here. So there's a little access panel, and you can check the wiring there. So pretty much you just take this panel here off. There's a screw there. You take that screw out. This just comes off. It's just a cover. And in there's three terminals where the wiring hooks up. And all I did was check that to make sure it worked. And but before I did that, I went downstairs and I turned off the power. And then I went outside and I disconnected the disconnect. And then I checked these terminals. And they were all tight. They were good. I figured they might be loose, and we had the siding put on the house, and I thought maybe when they were doing the siding and they took the line set covers off, maybe one of these terminals was loose or something. And yeah, so I thought, well, that might be the problem. So anyways, everything was good, so I put everything back together and turned it back on. Well, when I turned it on, the wife hollered and said that, hey, it's moving. And I thought, wow, well, if it's moving, it's got power, so there's something else wrong with it. So I came upstairs, and sure enough, when you power this system up, it does reset itself, and then it just shuts off like normal. So when it resets itself, it tips the louvers, and the little electronic guard goes back and forth, and then it just goes like this. It just shuts itself off. So that's what happened. So I thought, So I turned it on, and sure enough, it turned on for about a minute, and then it turned off again. So okay, well, what works once will work again. So I went downstairs, I turned the power off, turned it back on. It reset itself again. And then here in the room, I turned it back on with a remote, and sure enough, it fired up. And it ran for about a minute or two, and then it quit. So I thought, well, something's funny, but it's getting better. So I turned the power back off downstairs and turned it back on again after a minute or two. Turned it back on, and then came up here. It reset itself again. And I turned it back on, and it's been working ever since. So you can see now, if I just like this, the beep, and there she goes. And it is on. The two lights are on. And anyway, so it is working. So what I think happened is that because it was sitting for so long, we have a branch box up in the attic. So this is a big unit. It's a 3-ton unit, 36,000 BTU. And see there, now she's blowing. And this hasn't been used. So that branch box is like a splitter, smart splitter. It can regulate the flow going to each unit. And it'll handle up to 5 units. So all of them get used periodically except for this one. This one's usually off unless there's someone staying over, then we turn it on. And the last time someone stayed here overnight was I believe, last year sometime. We have friends over from Montreal in the fall when they stayed here. Maybe it was the spring. I'm not sure. Anyways, doesn't matter. It worked then. And then it worked after the siding was put on because we checked it. And it worked in the spring, early spring, when I switched everything to AC. So anyways, but it's been sitting since then. It's only been on 3 times in the last year. So I think that branch box, that valve that controls the flow to each unit, the one for this unit got stuck. That's what I think. So when I turn the unit off and on, it kind of jolts a bit as it's resetting. And each time I did that, it just made it a little bit better. And now it's working fine. So I think I'm just going to turn this off because nobody's staying in this room here anyway. So I think the thing to do is, if you have a unit like ours with a branch box, or even just a standalone unit with more than one head on it, I think it's important every now and then just to run the system with everything on, just to make sure that everything stays functional. Because what it is there's in the Freon, there's some lubrication, there's some lubricant in there. And as this thing runs, it circulates that lubrication. Well, if you never use a certain unit, it's eventually going to go dry. That valve is going to probably dry out, and that's probably what happened. So that's why it didn't work, because it just wasn't lubricated. And then every time we turn it on, it just got a little bit more and a little bit more. And now, well, we've used it quite a bit the last week because my sister and brother-in-law were here, so it was on the whole time. So anyways, that's what it is. I think it's a lubrication issue, and every now and then you just need to run the system. Once every 2 weeks or so, just turn everything on for 5 minutes and shut it back off again, and it'll always be there when you need it. Anyways, I hope this video was somewhat useful to you. Was a little bit of a learning experience for me. If you enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up, leave a comment, subscribe. I really like subscribers, and yeah, and until next time, take care.